Welcome to Demand and Disrupt, the Disability Podcast. Here, we will learn to advocate for ourselves and each other. This podcast is supported with funds from the Advocado Press, based in Louisville, Kentucky.
Welcome to Demand and Disrupt, a disability podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Parsley.
And I'm Lisa McKinley. Thanks for joining us, everyone. How are you, Kimberly?
I'm doing better. I think I had COVID last week. I had something gross, so I am doing better today. Thank goodness. We have 2 interviews for our listeners today, which is exciting. I will be interviewing, his name is Tyler Levy. He's a disability advocate, and he is well known in Louisville. Everybody told me I need to get him. He was a delight to talk to. And something I found out after I interviewed him is that he has an art piece that is displayed at the Kentucky State Fair between August 15th and 25th. So if you are going to be at the Kentucky State Fair during those days, go look up Tyler Levy's art piece. I'm sure it will be amazing, just like he is. And you are doing our other interview. Lisa, tell me who we're talking to.
Yes, I am talking to Aaron Lammers. And this interview came about in a very interesting way. As all some of you know, I'm in massage school, and after school, a lot of times I go down and I sit in the park on a bench and wait for my husband to pick me up. I kind of just chill and wait for him to get off work. And it was a few weeks ago. I was sitting in the park just hanging out, and someone came and sat down beside me and asked if, just started asking a little bit about me, and we got to talking, and he told me about his autism. And I'm like, you know what? This would make a really good interview to hear the perspective of autism from someone with autism. So I had I had my phone with me. I asked him, would you like to be interviewed? And he was up for it. So we walked over to a quieter part of the park, and he just really opened up and shared his life with me. So it was really cool. Yeah, it wasn't expected. It wasn't something I was, thought I was going to do that day, but it happened, and it was like really cool.
I am NPR level impressed. Journalist on the spot, whipped out the recorder, had it going on. I am impressed. That is awesome.
So if you hear a little sound in the background, that is the waterfall in the park. We were at Fountain Square Park in downtown Bowling Green. I think I may have said Circus Square in the recording, but just know it was Fountain Square. I think they're 2 parks right next to each other, if I'm not mistaken.
I can never figure out what the difference is. I honestly don't know what. To me, downtown is Fountain Square Park, so it's always just that area,
Yes.
But yeah, apparently they're 2 distinct things, but I don't know how either. So, and it was a wonderful, very informative interview. You did a great job. Tell me that makes me think of something. Like you get out of class and you go and you wait. Do you remember? I have spent so much of my life waiting for a ride.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And I was trying to explain to my kids, like I had to wait for rides before phones were a thing. I just had to sit there in my own head with my own thoughts and wait. And it was terrible.
Oh, we get really good at these games inside of our heads just to occupy ourselves and pass the time.
So good at the games. All the things. I remember being in a class where I couldn't do anything, just sit there because they didn't have a book on tape for me or Braille or anything. And I would literally count because I was like a sophomore in high school. I didn't even have like a watch, like a Braille or talking watch. So I would try to count because I knew how long it would be, what number I'd have to get through this class. That is a misery our kids do not know.
Exactly. I remember in church counting the pages in the Bible once when I was a kid because I was like super boring because I was a kid.
Not now at all. No.
Or now, but I'm a way more judgy person now because now when I get bored and I'm listening to a speaker, instead of, I don't know, counting pages in a magazine, I'll count how many times they say or
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah, I'm
not
petty
very
that way
nice,
too.
but
Oh
yeah.
no, it's petty, but hey, we do what we have to do. And now I haven't done this yet, but I swear I'm going to. Is I have the Ray-Ban Meta glasses or Meta Ray-Ban glasses, whatever, the sunglasses. So I blind people wearing the sunglasses out is kind of a thing. So I think, you know what? I could read books at church.
You totally could. You shouldn't, but you could.
I know what I could. I could totally go to church and read books and no one would know
Oh, that's
because
funny.
I am terrible. So, and speaking of the sunglasses, you and I were talking about this earlier. I do not mind telling you that I ordered the Mattel blind fashionista Barbie the second it was available.
That is
I
so cool. Did she arrive yet?
know she hasn't arrived
She
yet, but I
hasn't
have
arrived.
nope,
Oh
nope,
man, I
not
thought you
yet,
were gonna
not yet.
tell me all about her.
Oh no, I will tell you. I think I'm gonna we need to have like a demand and disrupt Instagram or something. And me and you could take this is the world from a blind perspective, and it would be pictures like blurry pictures of whatever. No one would know. But I want to take a picture of the Barbie and show everyone and see how the stuff describes it. We could get
Yeah.
like seeing eye, some of our apps to describe it. So I'm so excited. Tell me what your thoughts are on the blind Barbie.
I think it's so super cool. I know she has a cane. I know she has an articulating arm uh, to use the cane, and that she has sunglasses, but they placed them on top of her head, kind of like a headband, to where,
Mm-hmm.
you can put the glasses on the Barbie if you want, but you don't have to. And that she also has an upward eye gaze to kind of show how a lot of blind people have that inability to focus. And
True. Yep.
I don't know, I think it's really true to the blind experience. And when I was younger, I used to have a problem with the whole sunglasses thing. Um like, I thought it was super stereotypical because in shows, if they wanted to portray someone as blind, they'd be wearing the glasses. But, the older I got, the more blind people I met, and I realized a lot of people wear the glasses, one, for identification, to let people know they're blind, and two, because there are a lot of eye conditions out there that photosensitivity is one of the big symptoms. So, and I started thinking back when I was a kid and I had partial vision. I could not step outside without sunglasses on, or I would literally go into a sneezing fit because I was that photosensitive that I remember counting once and sneezing 14 times in a row. So now
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
really think it's so stereotypical anymore. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's good that they put them the way they did it, like up on her head, like all cool. And so you can have them or you cannot have them. Either way, it's a choice. I mean,
Yeah,
blind
and
Barbie
they're
has a choice.
pink. They're
Oh, I
Barbie
did not know
pink.
they were pink. I
Yes.
didn't know they were pink.
Yes. How
Oh,
cool is that?
that's cool. That is cool. That is cool that they're not that stereotypical. So, and I know a lot of people, a lot of blind people wear sunglasses because it keeps us from having to put forth the effort to always be looking at someone and trying to
Absolutely.
appear normal. It's just, I mean, I don't need them, but sometimes I wear them just because I just don't want to put forth the effort to make sure I'm looking in the right direction at someone.
Well, once I wore a pair of sunglasses out when we went shopping, because I don't wear sunglasses normally, but I did as kind of an experiment. And it could have been just me, but it seemed like I had a better reception from people. They didn't seem as anxious. I don't, they could have
Because
just,
they knew, I guess.
yeah, or they knew and then they didn't know. They didn't know maybe how much I could see or couldn't see. So maybe they assumed I could see a little. I don't know what they assumed, but people didn't seem as anxious or timid when they were talking to me.
And I heard someone complain that the blind Barbie has like a Velcro clothes. And I'm like, well, don't all Barbies have Velcro clothes? I mean,
I think
the
so.
yeah, I think all the fasteners, because they're for kids who aren't, you know, great with their hands yet. You know, they couldn't do itty bitty buttons.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've had a Barbie, but I do remember a lot of Velcro. I don't remember snaps and zippers on
No,
the Barbie. Yeah, I don't. I
no,
think some people are just really, really sensitive,
I think they are.
especially when you first lose your sight. You know.
That, and I think it's right to be suspicious about how good a job did a major corporation actually do. You know what I mean? I can see being like, I mean, when I first heard there was a blind Barbie, I was like, oh God, no, it's going to be horrible. I mean, that was literally my first response. But the yeah, I used to collect dolls. I have tons of Barbies. My mom has them all now. She displays them because, of course, I would have a daughter who is not into dolls at all. She thinks they're creepy. So I had lots of dolls. I love dolls, and so I was like, you know what, this is cool. I'm going to get it. Michael described it to me. She's got like what is it? A pink top and like a roughly purple skirt, and they have her in high heels, which I think is great instead of like putting her in like, you know, orthopedic shoes or something. Not that there's anything wrong with orthopedic shoes. Hey, I would love me some fancy orthopedic shoes, let me tell you, as I get older. But, you know, I think I understand people's hesitance to think that a major corporation would have gotten it right. But, you know, so far from what I've heard, I'm pretty excited to
Well,
get my
they
doll.
were in very close contact with a lot of the blind organizations, especially AFB, American Foundation for the Blind, when developing the doll. So I think they tried really, really hard to make sure it was an accurate portrayal of blindness without going over the top and being stereotypical. So I know there was a lot of input, even from blind children. And the person I interview next after this is actually the wife of the president and CEO of American Foundation for the Blind. So that's going to be really cool.
Oh, that's exciting. Did you talk to her about the doll at all?
I did not. It was actually like I interviewed her, I think 2 days before they made the announcement. So, I
Oh,
think she was kind of hush hush about it. But
oh.
if it would have come out, I probably would have asked her about it. So yeah.
So I think what we're saying here is, guys, y'all are probably going to be hearing more about the blind Barbie. Sorry,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm glad that they did that. I'm glad that they talked to other organizations, talked to actual blind people, blind children. And I should say there are other dolls with disabilities being represented as well. I need to look more into that, and I promise I will. And I will put a link to the article in the show notes. I know there were ethnicities represented. I believe there was a doll with Down syndrome, I believe, and there was I think there was an African American doll with Down syndrome. I'm not sure. They made an effort to be inclusive, so that's great. I'm sure they didn't go far enough. But hey, maybe this is the first of more great things to come, right?
I think so. Let's hope so.
Let's definitely hope so. And speaking of great things to come, here is my interview with the awesome Tyler Levy. Hello, Tyler. How are you?
Hello, I am very excited about being here. Let's do this.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Tyler, you live in Louisville, and you have something called Williams syndrome. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So, can you tell us about what that is exactly?
It is a genetic disorder that causes things like learning disabilities. 80% of people born with Lynch syndrome have heart issues that could also cause bladder issues, depression, anxiety. But there's also very positive aspects about it,
Is that so? Like what?
like enhanced musical ability, we're the friendliest people you will ever meet, and we just love life to its fullest.
I can attest, Tyler, that you are one of the friendliest and most exuberant people I have met on this podcast so far. And that is very much saying something.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be one of those people.
And now you said 80% of people with Williams syndrome have cardiovascular issues. So were you one of those 80%?
Luckily, no. I was one of the 20% that was born without them.
Really? Okay, wonderful. Well, that is good. So heightened musical ability. That is so interesting that it's a genetic disease, correct?
Correct. Genetic disorder, yes.
That's fascinating to me that a genetic disease that can cause cardiovascular problems also is linked to heightened musical ability. So tell me how that tell me about how important is music in your life? Tell me how that works for you.
My life would be boring without music. I listen to bands like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, the Grateful Dead, all kinds of bands. In fact, funny story about that. At one point, he wanted to name my brother Jerry Garcia Levy, but Mom was like, "No."
Really?
Yeah, he's named Eli.
Eli. Okay. And do you play any instruments?
I do not. I used to play the piano when I was a kid, but not anymore. But music is very instrumental
I see what you did there.
to my life.
Is it so? Everything you mentioned was classic rock, not a lot of modern stuff there.
Right, but also, yeah, I don't really know many of the newer bands, but I've also listened to Nirvana and all kinds of bands, Metallica, all kinds of bands.
I think Nirvana is now considered classic rock. And that sort of broke my heart when I found that out because, that's what I listened to in college. So, so tell me how you have managed your life with Williams syndrome.
Just staying positive and going to doctors when needed. And there's some days where I've been down in the dumps because, of course, people with Williams syndrome can get depression. Like when COVID was really bad, I felt like I was down in dumps and depressed because, lockdown was going on and we couldn't go out and do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you really thrive on that companionship and being with friends and things. Is that right?
I do. Otherwise, I feel like the last person on earth.
Really? Uh-huh. So did that cause like depression and anxiety for you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but you sound like you're better now.
Thanks. Yeah, the pandemic. I think a lot of people during the pandemic and lockdown had anxiety and depression and all kinds of stuff because the only way we could really connect was on things like Zoom and Google Chat or whatever it is, FaceTime. We couldn't really be with people in person, and that's really important for me to be with people in person.
Is it? Uh-huh. Okay. And so what do your days look like now? What is it that you do?
I work at this very awesome place called Planet Fitness. It is an amazing place to work. The people there are amazing. Big shout out to the management team of Dina Dowd and Daniel Cobb. They are two of the best people that I've ever. They are the two best people I've ever worked with. And
oh, wonderful!
Yeah, shout out to all my coworkers and all the members there too. I love them.
And so, what do you do there?
I do digital guest registrations. I clean a lot of stuff and I talk to a lot of awesome people.
I think that you would be a wonderful front desk person. To be the first face a person sees when they're coming in. I think that you would be wonderful for that.
Thanks. I do work at the front desk. It is absolutely fun.
And I understand that with Williams syndrome, learning difficulties can be one of the things that come along with that. How did you manage to overcome those challenges?
when I was in school, I had a one-on-one aide that would like get me through the day, go to my classes with me. When I was in both elementary school and high school, I was integrated into both classes. Well, especially in high school, I was integrated into both classes with people for people with disabilities and in normal classes. So, or what they like to call mainstream classes.
And did you enjoy that, getting to be in both different kinds of classes?
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed being able to experience, uh, as the saying goes, the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. And you were telling me that before we started recording that you went through Donna Fox's program, the Donna Fox who was on an episode just a few of our episodes ago.
And I'm still part of that program. It is absolutely amazing, and I would not change it for anything because she helps people really into the aspects of advocacy, like self-determination, self-awareness, self-advocacy, all kinds of tools. She is without a doubt one of the biggest names here in Louisville.
Tyler, how were you diagnosed with Williams syndrome?
A doctor told my parents, I really don't know the full story because I was like only a few months old, but I think the doctor just told my parents, just told mom and dad that I was born with it.
Oh, really? Okay. Because what I read was that most of the time people are diagnosed as a result of the heart condition. That's why I asked, because you didn't have the heart condition, so I just wondered.
Yeah, in 2021, it was discovered that I did not have the heart condition.
Awesome. That is great. So that's never something you'll have to face.
Right.
You have such a big personality and you like to meet people. So a lot of people consider all disabilities, syndromes, illnesses to be negatives. But tell me ways that you have found this willingness to go out and meet people to be a positive.
Well, just good to know friendly people like you.
Thank you.
And thank you and so many other people that I've met over my time of living the last 32 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
and speaking of music, you were actually born on Elvis Presley's birthday, right?
January 8th, 1992.
So are you an Elvis Presley fan?
Interestingly, yeah, I am. Did you also know he knew martial arts?
Mm-mm.
I believe it was karate, but I don't remember the style. Because I used to be a martial artist myself. I did
really,
the challenge Kimbo got to. Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I really loved it. For some, why do people with disabilities so underestimated sometimes? Like, why do people just assume that just because we have a disability that we're not worthy or we're not capable of doing anything? Do you have an explanation for that?
I do not, but I wish I did. But people like you and hopefully, this podcast, we're working to change that. And this month, July, is when we're recording this in July, is Disability Pride Month. So you are one of the people I wanted to talk to for July because you do seem proud of yourself and who you've become and your family supports and your community.
Oh, you want to know something interesting about me? I'm the first
sure.
Kentucky colonel that I know of with Williams syndrome.
Oh, you're a Kentucky colonel?
Yeah.
Well, you really should have led with that, Tyler.
That
is a big deal. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, tell me what a Kentucky colonel is.
It's someone that the governor picks to be part of his staff. It's like the highest honor that a person in Kentucky could get.
It is. It is a super big deal. So, when did you become a colonel?
January, February of 21. I can't remember which month it was.
Wow. Congratulations. So are there any perks that come with that other than you just get to tell people you're a Kentucky colonel, which is awesome? Are there any other perks?
There's so much. Like we have the Kentucky Colonel Homecoming, which is in November. I really want to go this year. Let's see what else. We go out and we do different community projects to help people and all kinds of stuff. It is so much fun and I love it.
Excellent. That is wonderful. Everyone, thank you for joining me with my discussion with Colonel Tyler Levy.
Today we are on scene at Circus Square Park in downtown Bowling Green, Kentucky, and I am with Mr. Aaron Lammers. Hello, Aaron.
Hello, how are you?
I am doing well. And to all the listeners, actually, I just met Aaron. I was sitting on a bench waiting for a ride, and he sat down and struck up a conversation. He was telling me about his autism, and I thought, this would be a great time for an interview, and Aaron greatly obliged and is going to talk to us today a little bit more about autism, because there's a lot of things that are misunderstood and a lot of stereotypes, and Aaron is going to share a little more about that with us today. So Aaron, how are you?
I am actually doing really well. Thank you. Yes, I am autistic. I also have ADHD, but the main thing that I do have is autism. I have Asperger's syndrome, which is a high-functioning form of autism. But there are still a lot of stereotypes that are dealt with autism that people tend to follow. For example, my family basically shut me in because of my autism. They wouldn't if I was still living with my family today, I would not have my apartment. I wouldn't have had my job. It was very sheltered.
So Aaron, I know it must be challenging for them as well, just not knowing how to navigate. Do you hold any kind of resentments towards them, or how do you feel about how they handled things?
Honestly, I don't have any resentment towards them. I still love them, because they are my family, so I still love them. But could they have handled things a little bit better? Yes. They functioned on a form of favoritism, which not only added to their falling for the stereotypes, but it also pretty much drove me to basically want things that I have now. So if it wasn't for them following those stereotypes, I'm not saying that it's a good thing that they did, but I guess I wouldn't have the goals that I have now.
So do you feel like you are now really goal-oriented?
Yes.
And how does that look different when you factor autism into the mix?
Well, like I said, autism is, people fall into two categories. One, they fall into the supporting range, where they believe just because you have autism doesn't mean you can't do things, doesn't mean you can't live on your own, doesn't mean you can't, be an adult, But at the same time, but then there's the opposite range, which my family fell under, where they had to constantly yell at me, drill things in my head, try to, force me to stay a child, because they believed that was the safest. And that's, they didn't want me to grow up in a way.
Do you think maybe they had some fears and were in their way trying to do what they thought might have been best, but
absolutely.
It just really wasn't? How do you think, what advice would you give to a parent who has a child with autism, so to avoid that kind of thing?
Autism is very different. It's different for many people. The best advice I can give somebody is just to try to understand them. That's the best advice. To understand them would be basically telling the person with autism, hey, I get it, I get it.
Tell me about a time somebody
you met someone new and they did understand you, what did they do to make you feel understood and accepted?
The very first time that I felt accepted was when I went to Dublin's and I met my friend Andy. He's a DJ over at Dublin's. Matter of fact, he's DJing tonight. But anyway, when I met him, he didn't see my autism. He just saw a regular guy. And when I told him, he's like, I can't even tell. Like, I can't even tell. Like, you're just a regular guy to me. And that made me feel so incredible. I mean, I've had friends, don't get me wrong, and they're all very understanding, but that was when I felt like I was truly comfortable in my own skin.
So you maybe felt really seen for the first time.
Exactly.
I think that's important for all of us in the disability community. What would you want just the average person out on the street to know about autism that would help you and help others?
Don't see us as kids, for one. We may act a little childish, you know. I mean, I'm a big kid at heart, so, you know, I collect action figures, comic books, you know, I act out stories and stuff like that, but that's just me. But don't see us all as kids, you know. Yes, we may act childish. Yes, we are different, but so is everybody. Just see us for who we are inside rather than seeing our actions.
I love that. That's beautiful. I think we all should take the time to see the inside and not what's necessarily on the outside.
Indeed. See, most people, whenever it's really hard for me to get a girlfriend because they only see the actions. They don't see the inside of the person, you know? They don't see that deep down, I'm a gentle, loving, kind person. They just see somebody who's in a bar, you know, in his imagination because he has no one to hang out with, so he hangs out with his own imagination, and that's what they see. They don't see what's going on the inside, and that's what really gets to me, is because it is really hard for people with autism to actually find a date, to actually find a girlfriend, and, you know, to actually get married. Because they don't see what's on the inside. And to me, that's very important.
How do you think is the best way to go about learning the heart of someone like yourself or someone with autism? What can a person like myself or someone else do to really get to know you?
Just sit down and have a conversation, you know? Just show in your heart that you're willing to understand.
What are some of the things that are hardest for you? If you don't mind me asking.
Social cues, for one. Knowing when to keep my foot out of my mouth.
Oh no.
Like I go into very deep detail with some of the stories I tell. I'm not going to go into any details about, you know, my life, because there are certain parts that are very inappropriate. So I'm gonna. But that's a skill I've learned over the years, but it's still hard for me to do.
How can people go about showing you grace and kindness when there are things they just don't understand?
Patience. Just be patient with the person. If you be patient with the person, the kindness and grace would follow.
Absolutely.
It's not easy. Mind you, it's extremely hard, but it's worth it in the long run.
What is one of the hardest things about the autism, that if you could change one thing?
Not putting my foot in my mouth.
Not putting your foot in your mouth.
Yes.
I mean, I think we should learn to embrace our disabilities, but even so, there will be things we wish we could change. I wish I could drive. I wish I didn't have to wait on a ride, but it is what it is. So
yeah.
So
There, like I said, there are things that I do wish I could change. For, like I said, not putting my foot in my mouth for one. Another thing that I wish I could change about my autism is pacing. Being able to sit still, because we combined with my ADHD, it is extremely hard for me to sit still. So I pace. Even in my own apartment, I pace, because it's hard for. Another thing is focus. I have trouble focusing on certain things. I mean, whenever I am focused on something, I give it my all, but then after a certain amount of time, my focus goes, ooh, squirrel. It's like I'm focused on it, and then all of a sudden, squirrel.
and I'm assume it's sometimes hard to redirect your focus back
Pretty much.
to that thing you were supposed to be focused on.
Yes.
So Aaron, what is it that makes you uniquely you? What are some things you're really proud of about yourself that people should take the time to get to know you?
Well, I am very romantic. I'm also very I like to sing and I like to dance. I'm a very good singer and dancer, I've been told. I auditioned for American Idol when I was in my early 20s. Didn't go through, so, but yeah. Like I said, I respect women. I'm very honorable. Another thing that I like about myself is the fact that I am very open when it comes to my autism. It took me a while to accept my autism, to be open with it, because I was told that my autism was wrong my entire life, and that kind of puts a strain on something. But then as I got older, I learned to accept it. I call it my superpower, basically, because it gives me what it takes away, it gives me tenfold.
I can see that you're a very kind person and you are willing to talk, and I appreciate that. We don't always find that. Let's, for a second, if you could say anything to someone out there right now with autism, and they're trying to find their place in the world, and they're trying to find who they are, what would you say to encourage them?
Look within yourself and be yourself. Look within you and be the person that you want to be. Not what everyone else tells you that you have to be. Be who you want to be.
That is beautiful words of wisdom. And speaking of words of wisdom, it's about time to wrap up. What imparting words would you have for people?
For people for people who are without autism, try to understand the person, you know. Don't look down on him just because, and definitely don't degrade him. But at the same time, let him know, let him know that you see him for who he is, Don't constantly point out the mistakes. Just, be like, hey man, this ain't cool, But don't be rude about it, Be gentle with it, And for the people with autism, I just want to say, like I said, look within yourself and be you. Be the person you want to be, not what anybody else wants to be.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me today, Aaron. It's been a pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
If you like the podcast, remember to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you really like the podcast, we'd love it if you could leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. That helps more people to find us. If you really, really like the podcast, then please tell someone about it, either in person or send them an email or just share the link on social media. Thank you all. Every bit helps, and it makes a huge difference for us. If you'd like a transcript, please send us an email to demandanddisrupt@gmail.com and put transcript in the subject line. Thanks to Chris Unkin for our theme music. Demand and Disrupt is a publication of the Advocado Press with generous support from the Center for Accessible Living located in Louisville, Kentucky. And you can find links to buy the book, A Celebration of Family, Stories of Parents with Disabilities, in our show notes. Thanks, everyone.
You say you've seen a change in me. Just for once I think I would agree. We both know there's a difference. We've had our curtain call, and this time the writing's on the wall. War of words we can defend. Two damaged hearts refuse to mend. This situation's pointless with each and every day. It's not a game we need to play. To make things better, repair and rearrange things, but each and every letter spells out the need for us to open up our minds and hearts to change. Then what will be, will be. Disregard for good to set us free. There's just no way of knowing if love lives anymore. We'll turn out the light, then close the door. Try to make things better, repair and rearrange things, but each and every letter spells out